right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here. This is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. So good to be with you all on this Saturday evening. And to all of you joining us online, welcome. Glad you're here with us tonight or throughout the week. Glad you're part of this community, wherever you're joining us from. And just to give you all the reminder, we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. Which also means there's always one thing we don't do in this community. You can shout it out on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame. But Carrie's going to tell you some things we do.
Yes, and if tonight is your first night joining us, welcome. We're glad that you're here. Just outside of these doors after service, come find someone who is wearing one of the lanyards that says we're here to help. There's several members of the home team who would love to get you connected with one of the welcome bags. Inside the welcome bags, you'll find some fresh roasted wagon coffee from the wonderful Tammy Kennedy, who will be up here in a moment, and her team at Wagon Coffee. It's the same coffee that we serve in the cafe. You'll get some free swag, and there's also a meeting schedule that is in that bag. If you flip that meeting schedule over, you'll see a QR code. That QR code will get you connected to all of the different ways to stay connected here at Free. You can download our app here. You can get on our newsletter here, so each week you'll find out who our guest storyteller is and what events we have coming up in the week. You will also, and this one is important because this is, if you're ever looking for a meeting here, this is the most accurate and up-to-date meeting information. Meetings change here all the time. We get new meetings, and that's the way to stay connected. For example, over the summer, there was an ACA meeting, so an adult child of our children of alcoholic and other dysfunctional homes, that was meeting here on Saturdays. It's called Feeling is Healing. They paused for the summer, but they're back, and so they asked if they can make an announcement. That is on Saturdays. It is now being moved to the big kids room, but it's from 1 until 2:30, and again, you can find that information on the app or on that QR code. We also have tomorrow, Zach Bloom and his team, there's several gentlemen who put this on, but they're hosting a Back to Basics workshop tomorrow. This is completely free to attend. They do ask that you sign up, and that's simply so they know how much food to provide because lunch is included, but it's a way to get through all 12 steps. It's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the cafe. The cafe is not open, but like I said, they do provide lunch, but it's an extraordinary program. They do this every other month, yeah. And they switch the format. This month, it is going to be the Back to Basics.
So you can be healed and cured
in one day. Yeah, I don't know that that's
cured.
I don't know
just
that that's
kidding,
quite
just kidding.
it, but it's a great introduction,
yes,
and it's a great way if you're new, or if you kind of want a refresher. It is a great, and it's absolutely free. And then we have a super fun this coming Thursday.
Yes.
I'm really sad that I'm going to miss this one. But
Candidates will be there.
I know, I'm so sad. Is it live streamed?
Probably not live streamed.
Oh,
no.
Man. All right. Well, y'all have to tell me how it is.
It's gonna be lots of fun.
It is going to be a Family Feud-like game show night. You do not have to come with your family of origin. You can come by yourself. You can come with a group of friends, but you will get paired up in groups of 5. And Ben Michaels is going to be the host that evening. He's a professional corporate entertainer. He's hilarious, and he will be the one facilitating the game show. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the games start at 6:30. And it is completely free to attend. So come make some new friends, bring your family, or make new family. I think that's all I have for you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Carrie. I want to add one other thing. Next week is National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, and we're going to recognize that day here next Saturday. So if you have one of the F Fentanyl t-shirts, we got some more in, so they're out in the cafe area by the ping pong table. But if you have it and you still have it, you still own it, wear it next Saturday to be in solidarity. I'll be wearing mine, so wear your F-Fentanyl shirt. Y'all know we're still losing people to this drug. We're still losing people to overdoses, and it's something we're going to continue to talk about because Colorado still has a significant problem, so we are going to talk about it. Next Saturday, I hope you come. Kai, some of you know Kai. Kai is going to be our guest storyteller. It's going to be a good evening. Speaking of evening, the way we get started here at Free on a Saturday is with celebrations. We start with the good. We lift up the good. Maybe you're here and you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or whatever the new thing in your life, your recovery, whatever it is, we celebrate it all here. It's always a profound part of our time together. We get to root for one another, cheer for one another. God joins with us in the celebrations. If you're online, drop your celebrations in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments, whatever platform you're joining us from, and we'll join with you there. Rick has a mic on this side. Catherine has a mic on this side. For those of you in-house, just raise up your hand. They'll get you a mic, and let's do some celebrating, shall we?
I'm David. I'm an addict, 6 months.
All right, David, congratulations. Happy 6 months.
I'm Nina, alcoholic, everything else, and I just got a new year.
All right, congratulations, Nina.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey, alcoholic. I have 21 months today. And last week was a good golf week. I shot my lowest score, won a tournament, and got a hole-in-one all in the same day.
Look at you rocking it, dude. Way to go, Jeffrey. I love it. I'm trying to read your normalized sobriety. Oh, I love it.
I'm Josie. I just hit 4 months sobriety, well, 4.5 technically, and I start work on Monday.
All right, Josie. Congratulations.
I'm Kathy, and I have an announcement. From Surviving to Thriving, we'll be meeting at 1:30 this coming Friday on the 21st in the meditation room here at Free. This is a sharing group for women who are domestic violence and abuse survivors. Only sharing our stories do we begin to heal.
Yes, thank you for doing that, Kathy. Thank you for leading. Very important.
I'm Chantel, and my grandbaby turns 1 tomorrow. She survived us.
All right, we'll celebrate that. Happy 1 year.
I'm Craig, alcoholic. Last week I celebrated a year sober.
Yeah, Craig, way to go, dude. Happy 1 year. Anyone else? We still have 44 seconds.
My name's Erlinda. I just want to celebrate my boyfriend Mike's healing of his arm. He had surgery about a month ago and got his cast off. So.
All right, we'll celebrate that. Happy healing. God bless you. Glad y'all are here.
I'm an addict. My name's Catherine. I start school this week, Monday. I start school Monday. Super terrified, but it'll be all right.
We're going to celebrate it, Catherine. You're going to do great. And we can celebrate all the kids starting school. All 4 candidate kids are back in school this week. Woo! And time is out with that. Thank you, Rick and Catherine. Tammy's going to join me up here.
I was going to celebrate that too. Successfully got 4 kids off to 3 different schools, 3 different start times.
Different start days.
Different start days as well, yeah.
It's a lot to manage.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah, my brain was tired last night.
I get it. Well,
and we have a 16-year-old now too.
Oh, we do have a 16-year-old. Selah turned 16 last week. All right, you want the first one?
Evan says, thanks and happy to report 147 days sober today.
Way to go, Evan. Happy 147. Anita is joining us tonight, and she says, grateful to be sober for 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days. Happy 1111. Glad you're here, Anita.
And Mike says, I'm celebrating that my neighbor, Patrick, had a successful heart transplant, and after a time in rehab, is back home.
All right, Mike, we'll celebrate that, brother. Lauren says, hi, friends. I'm missing you in person, but I finally surrendered and asked for help and checked myself into Parker Valley Hope. I'm celebrating 8 days sober today, willing, excited, and ready to be back in recovery. Awesome. Love you all so much. Way to go, Lauren. Proud of you. Keep on going.
Hey, Kaylin says, good to be back. Celebrated 4 years, 8 months yesterday. Awesome. My last semester before I graduate starts next week, and I will have an Associate of Arts in Health Sciences.
Way to go, Kaylin. Congratulations. Awesome. Very cool. All right, Tam. Thank you for joining me up here. Did you change your outfit?
I did, because it got cold.
Okay, because when I left the house, I swear she was wearing something different. I pay attention. I'm very observant. That's how marriage works, Rick. All right, y'all. Well, we are in the third and final week of this series called How Are You Really Doing? So our 13-year-old daughter, Shiloh, she really prides herself in not having much fear. In fact, I would tell you she's my adventure buddy. She's usually up for anything. She's a gymnast, so she knows how to push the limits. And last week we were playing in the ocean in Southern California, and in this ocean there was big waves, like real life surfing kinds of big waves. And it was kind of cool for me because I got to see a fear in Shiloh that I don't often get to see. And the first day we got there, she stood at the threshold where the ocean meets the sands, and she's standing there, and she wants to go into the water, but she says, Poppy, I'm scared. I'm scared. And what would happen is she would go a few feet into the water, then she would see a big wave come, and she would turn her back and try to outrun the wave, and then the wave would just crash on her, and it kept happening. In fact, we went day 2, we went back to the beach, and the same thing. She just stood at the threshold where the ocean meets the sands, and she wanted to go in, but she says, I'm scared. I'm scared. And so finally I said, baby, look, you do not have to go in there. You can play in the sand, and you can just go a few feet into the water and still have a good time. You can still have fun. Just play here. And she looks at me and she says, Poppy, I have to get over this fear. It's just so stupid. And I said, okay. Are you open for a suggestion? I have learned to say that to my kids. Are you open for a suggestion? She says yes. I said, well, here's what I'm seeing. Every time a big wave comes and you're just a few feet out there, well, you get scared and you turn your back and you try to outrun the wave and it just crashes on you. And I said, Shiloh, you have to stop doing that. You have to stop turning your back. In fact, you have to go and move right towards the wave and go directly into it, and you have to jump through it, dive all the way into it, and you'll come out the other side. And I said, Shiloh, when you make it out past the break, it's really peaceful out there, and I promise you, you're going to love it. So day 3, on the third day, important things happen on the third day. On the third day, there we are again, and she's standing at the threshold, and I watch her. She just makes a run for it. She runs all the way in, and there's this big wave coming, and I'm already out there, so I'm watching her come towards me, and there's this big wave coming. She dives into it, comes out, she wipes off her eyes, and she looks up, and then there's another big wave coming, and she dives straight into that one and comes out, and then we're out in the calm, and we're just, like, for the next hour, we just stayed out there having fun, like finding joy and floating over these big rollers. And then y'all know what she says to me? She says this, "Poppy, why didn't you tell me it was so peaceful out here?" To which I said, "Of course, baby, you're right. I didn't tell you that a dozen times for the last 3 days." And y'all, how many times do we stand at the threshold of our lives and we see others going in with ease, but we stand there being held captive by our fear? And you do know, when you look out and you see everyone out there, be reminded they all had to go through the same process. They had to go right through the waves. They had to dive through it and make it to the other side. And yes, I'm talking about fear again tonight. Some of you will remember the way we opened up this series 2 weeks ago. We talked about fear. You might remember Adam and Eve were in the garden, and they ate of the tree, and then they discovered that they were naked, and then God comes looking for them in the garden, and God's like, "Yo, where are you guys? Where are you guys?" And Adam pipes up and says, "Well, I was hiding." "Why were you hiding?" "Because I was so afraid." And I'm talking about fear again tonight because I believe it is the number one thing, it is the primary thing that will keep you from truly answering that question of this series, which is, how are you really doing? And I know the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it tells us that we're driven by 100 forms of fear, and I believe that. I've experienced it. I know it to be true. But I look at fear, and I also know, I think it can be boiled down to 3 things. Like, there's 3 things that I think we are all deeply afraid of. See if you resonate with these 3 things. Maybe you would add to these 3 things. The first one is this. What if they see me afraid? And who is the they in your life? What if they see me afraid? And I get it. Fear has a way of threatening our identity, doesn't it? I mean, what if they see how afraid I really am? What if they see how much I'm struggling? And what if I admit that I don't know what I'm doing out here? What will they think? What if they see me afraid? Will they see me in the same way? And I think it raises a deeper question. Will I still have worth? Do y'all know something? When things get hard here at Free, when we go through a hard season or we go through hard situations here at Free, do you know what my first impulse says? My first fear impulse says, don't let anyone see it. Don't let your people see you afraid, because if they see that, and fear loves to tell me that I know how they are going to respond. If they see me afraid, you're going to lose people. They're going to think you're a weak leader. They're going to think you don't know what you're doing. You know what? They're going to lose confidence in your leadership, so don't let them see you afraid. Fear's a funny thing, isn't it? The second thing I think we're all afraid of. Well, what if I can't make it through the wave? I mean, I know I see everyone else out there and they made it beyond the break, but you have to understand, I just don't have what they have. I don't have what it takes, and what if I can't make it through the wave? I mean, how often does this come up? What if I can't really make it through recovery? Do you know this is the thing that kept me drunk? It kept me from getting sober. When I knew things needed to change in my life, and I knew I just started to flirt with sobriety, and I tried different methods, well, I would look out at all of you and say, well, I know y'all made it out. You're in recovery. You're experiencing the happy, joyous, and free. But I tried all that, and it doesn't work for me. I can't make it through the wave. Or maybe you say, what if I can't make it through the grief? Or what if I can't really make it through that hard conversation? Or what if I finally face what's happened to me, and man, that wave, it just totally takes me under? So what do? We stay standing at that threshold because sometimes the pain we know feels safer than the healing we don't know. And then there's that third thing that I believe we're all afraid of. Yeah. Even if I do make it through that wave, what if it's not really any better on the other side? Like, what if I go through all of this and nothing changes? Or how about this one? What if I actually do get clean and sober and I'm still miserable? Or what if I tell the truth and they leave? And what if I let go of the thing that's been keeping me alive and then there's nothing there that's going to catch me? And can I trust what's on the other side of this wave? And my brothers and sisters, whatever wave you are facing in your life right now, maybe the bravest thing you can do is stand at the threshold and say, I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared. Do you know we actually come from a very long line of those who stood at the threshold and they were filled with fear. They didn't know if they could really move forward. Some of you will know the story of the Exodus. It's the second book of the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. The second book in the Bible goes Genesis, then Exodus. And some of you are familiar with the story that the Israelites, they were taken out of their homeland and they were brought into Egypt where they were forced to live as slaves for many, many years under the power of Pharaoh. And they're crying out to God for many, many years, God, where are you? God, how come you're not rescuing us? God, did you leave us? Did you abandon us? The text tells us that God hears their cries, and what does God do? God sends Moses, the great leader Moses, to go into Egypt and rescue them, lead them out of Egypt into a new land. And it was many years they stayed in slavery, crying out, and Moses finally makes it into Egypt, and he confronts Pharaoh. And he says, you got to let these people go. Through a long series of events, Pharaoh finally has like this weak moment, and he lets the people go, and the people, they make their escape. And then they arrive at what's called the Red Sea, and they're standing at the threshold, and they look out, and they see this big body of water, and probably wave after wave coming in, and they say to Moses, now what? Okay, we made it out of Egypt, but here we are at the banks of the Red Sea. The waves are coming, now what? And you have to understand, whenever right before they made it there, God has this conversation with Moses. He says, Moses, you need to understand something. When you make it to the Red Sea, Pharaoh, he's going to start like losing his mind. He's going to start to like spiral. And when he does, well, they're going to come after you, and you're going to be afraid. Your people are going to be afraid, and it's going to feel like there's no way forward. And what's the text say? Pharaoh absolutely loses his mind. He says to his armies, he said, man, what was I thinking? Why did I give up this free labor? We need our slaves back. We need to chase after them. So he sends all his armies to chase after them, 600 chariots. They're chasing after the Israelites who has just escaped. And there the Israelites are, standing at this threshold where the ocean meets the sands. And they're seeing the enemy close in behind them, and they see in front of them this big body of water and wave after wave coming in, and they are filled with fear. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked back and panicked. They said to Moses, why did you bring us out here to die in the desert? Didn't we tell you this would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, leave us alone. Let us be slaves to the Egyptians forever. It's better to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the desert. And isn't that interesting? I mean, they had just been rescued from slavery. And now they go through something kind of hard, and they start to say, well, maybe we should just go back. Maybe we should just go back to the way it used to be. Some of y'all know exactly what this is like. Some of y'all, you got rescued from the pit of addiction, and you made it into recovery, and you started facing a big wave that was coming towards you, and your first thought was, maybe it's just easier to go back. Maybe we go back to Egypt. And fear will always try to tell you it is easier to go back than it is to move forward. And they are there standing at the threshold looking at this big body of water. And I imagine they're talking to one another. They're saying, man, we can't just go in there. But what's going to happen if you saw what happened to Henry when he went in? A big wave come and crashed right over him. He tried to outrun it. We can't just go in there. Besides, if we make it past the first set of waves, if we make it beyond the break, is it really going to be any better than it is right now? What do? I guess we better turn back even though the enemy is behind us. Why? Because sometimes the pain you know feels safer than the healing you don't know. And y'all do know there's two different ways I believe that you can handle fear. If you Google some acronyms of fear and recovery, you'll find all sorts of acronyms. Maybe you've heard of these two acronyms, these two different ways of dealing with fear. The first one is, well, F everything and run. Yeah, turn your back on that wave, outrun it. Try to outrun it. And then, of course, there's a second way, and that is face everything and recover, or face everything and rise. But see, you have to understand something. The Israelites were very afraid, filled with fear, and it's this kind of fear that turns into anger. Now they're projecting on Moses, the leader who led them out, and Moses says to them, read Exodus chapter 14, there's this conversation. Moses says to them, man, you people are almost unbearable to deal with. Man, you people, you have such short memories. Look at how far God has brought us. Do you think God is just going to leave us in this moment? You think we're going to be left alone at this time? You think God brought us this far just to drop us off so we could die? Do you remember what life in Egypt was like? Do you remember when we were rescued? And what that felt like? It was God doing for us what we could never do for ourselves. And now you think God isn't going to join this battle with us? And y'all, when Moses says this to them, I believe he believed it. I believe for him it was a moment of being real. It was a moment of authenticity. He believed it. And you do know you can believe something in your head, your heart. You can believe it with your whole being, and you can still be filled with fear. Your confidence can be a bit shaken. So Moses has this quiet moment with God. And he starts to cry out to God. He starts having this prayer with God. God, you got to understand something here, man. The people, they're really afraid. And God, if I can be honest with you, I'm really afraid too. And God, are you really going to be with us in this moment? Are you going to fight this battle with us? Because God, look at these waves coming. These are big waves. And God, if we do make it through the Red Sea, is it going to be good on the other side? And see, I wonder if Moses had these moments where he thought, what if my people see me afraid? Will they lose confidence in me? Will they lose confidence in the mission and where we're headed? And I wonder if Moses was a lot like me. Did fear threaten his identity? And then God responds to Moses. And God says to Moses, dude, you of all people, man, you've experienced me. You and me, we have some history together. Don't you remember what it was like? Remember when I called you into Egypt and you were so afraid. In fact, you tried to get out of it. You said, not me, send someone else. I'm not qualified. I'm not competent. I'm not smart enough. I stutter. Remember how afraid you are? Remember the burning bush? That was me. That was me, Moses. Remember I went into Egypt with you. And remember I rescued them with you. And remember I'm with you now. And I am not going to leave you. I'm going through this battle with you. Check it out. Then the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? You tell the Israelites to go forward. Interesting, isn't it? Because how often do we use God and the spiritual and prayer when we actually know the right thing to do? We actually have a solution. We know to go forward. But we want to use the spiritual as a form of procrastination. Let me bring God into this when we know the right thing to do. You see, fear will always tell you, turn your back and try to outrun the wave. And God says, face the wave. Go forward, and I am going with you. And listen, y'all, you'll hear a lot in our culture. You'll hear it all the time about you and your need to conquer fear. Conquer your fear. Just conquer your fear. Remember the no fear t-shirts we used to wear? Yeah. And the truth is, there's hundreds of times there's this phrase found in the scripture, and it's 4 words. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. And do y'all know what I love about this story? God doesn't show up and say, do not be afraid. God simply tells him, go forward. Take all that fear, all that afraidness, all your scaredness, and keep going forward. The truth is, you don't have to get rid of your fear, but you might want to stop letting it control every step of your life. And on that 3rd day, when Shiloh, when she decided to make a run for it, you know what she didn't do? She didn't wake up that morning and say, Poppy, guess what? I got some really good news for you. I'm no longer afraid of the ocean. No. On that day, the waves were just as big. There was just as many waves. She ran into the waves really afraid. With all her fear, all her scaredness, she ran into it. She didn't conquer her fear and then go. She ran with her fear, and the waves were big. You see, faith and recovery, it is learning which direction you are going to move when that fear shows up. What are you going to do? Which direction will you move? And I want to return for a moment to the 3 things that I think we're all deeply afraid of. That first one, remember, what if they see me afraid? Well, let them. Let them see you afraid. And I know, especially if you're in any sort of leadership position, very scary. Let them see you afraid. Do you know, just a few weeks ago, I was talking with Carrie in the office, and I showed up that day, and I almost immediately regretted it because I showed up and I said to her, I said, man, in this particular situation, I don't know what to do. And the truth is, I'm scared. And fear loves to tell me, I know how they are going to respond. You're going to lose people. You're going to lose confidence. They're going to think you're weak. And she said, oh, thank God, because I'm scared too. You see, let them. Because it might, I know our fear is we're going to lose people, but it might make relationships stronger. It might build stronger teams. It might build more camaraderie. And the bravest person in the room isn't the one who doesn't have fear. The bravest person is the one who can stand at the threshold and say the words out loud, I'm scared. I'm scared and I don't know what to do. And then that second one, well, what if I can't make it through the wave? I mean, I know everyone else can do it. They have something that I don't have. And what if I can't make it through the wave? And maybe you can't. At least not alone. Do you know when I was watching Shiloh run out into the ocean and I'm watching her swim to me, she wasn't swimming towards an empty ocean. I was out in the water waiting for her. I was cheering her on. And no, I couldn't go through the waves for her. I couldn't magically make the waves disappear, but I was there with her in that moment. But she had to be the one to decide that she was going to go forward. And when you make that decision to go forward with all those challenges, all those fears that are built up, when you make the decision to go forward, I want you to remember God's already there with you. And it is not a God who stands at the beach and just kind of shouts out instructions. It's not a God who just magically makes the waves disappear, but it is a God who is already in the water, already in the battle with you, which means you, my brothers and sisters, are not alone. But Ryan, you got to understand, even if I do make it through, well, what if it's not really any better on the other side? And do you know, I'm tempted to just lie to y'all. just give pat answers. Oh, religious folks are good at that. Oh, just trust me. You just got to make it through, and then it's going to be all better. I don't know, maybe not. Because, see, sometimes what I know is you do the right thing, and that relationship still ends. I mean, sometimes you face that grief, and it still hurts like hell for a really long time. Sometimes what happens is you get clean and sober, and then life initially gets harder, not easier. Sometimes what happens is you go through that wave and you pop up and you want to wipe your eyes and celebrate, only to see another huge wave coming right behind it. And see, what I know is God, recovery, it doesn't promise us that life is going to be easy. It doesn't promise a trouble-free life. But I do believe they promise that turning your back and trying to outrun the wave, it is never the way to real life. It is never the way to that kind of abundant life that Jesus talked about. In fact, I have it tattooed on my back. I got it the day I turned 18 years old. John 16:33, words by Jesus, when Jesus said to his people, I tell you these things so that in me you may have peace. And in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. You will go through some difficult things. You will face some very big waves. That's a promise. And I would also remind you, be very careful. Be very careful when you go out into the waves and then you come out on the other side. You say, well, Ryan, why do I need to be careful? It's peaceful out there. Well, be careful, because you might have those sacred moments where you say, why didn't anyone tell me it was so peaceful out here? Well, Ryan, why do I need to be careful with that? Because someone might want to slap you upside the head and say, dude, I told you that 12 times and you didn't listen. But pay attention to those moments where you're out there floating and you're like, man, I didn't know it could be so peaceful when I stepped into this thing, when I went through this thing. And see, maybe tonight, maybe you're standing at a threshold in your life, and you are not at all fuzzy on what's behind you. You're not at all fuzzy on what you've been rescued from. You're not at all fuzzy about what your Egypt is. But the problem is, you know exactly the wave that is coming at you, exactly the wave that is in front of you. And the truth is, you're scared. You're just scared. And for a long time, maybe you've been turning your back and trying to outrun that wave, and it crashes on you, and you're the one that says, man, I don't know why this keeps happening. Why does this wave keep crashing on me? And I'm not going to stand up here tonight and tell you, well, all you got to do is conquer your fear. All you got to do is try to get rid of your fear. No, but I would ask you, what are you really afraid of? What's at the bottom of it? What are you really afraid of? And I would tell you, now you've got to go forward. Turn directly towards that wave and jump into it with all your fear. And I would tell you, do it scared, because in that place, God is already there with you. So this song that we're going to hear together, it's by an artist called NF. It's called Fear. And I want to invite you to take a moment and reflect.
Hi. If you guys are new with us, you should know that the second half of our service, we always invite a community member up into the living room to share a little bit of their story. I'm actually really sad because what I was going to say, he actually just left, but I will say it anyway. Our guest storyteller first came in, our mic passers, sorry to call you guys out again today, but Rick and Catherine have been, avid community members here, and they had a friend ask them, he needed to do some community service hours. We get a lot of those requests all the time. Sometimes they come and we never hear from again, and they just complete their service hours and they leave. And then there's some that change and they actually see what this place is and they stay and they continue to give back. And this is no exception. Our guest storyteller this week knows that importance. And what is so beautiful is even today, I can reach out. So if a newcomer reaches out to me and says, I've been watching you guys online and I'm scared to come in, I don't know anyone, so I don't know what to do. And so I said, hey, Shannon, would you do me a favor? Would you mind reaching out to this guy and help, just extend, be a guy and just be like, hey, welcome. And he came tonight for the first time. Sorry, I know I wasn't going to call you out personally, but Brian, but now I totally am because you're back. But again, it's important, what this work does. And now he's a part of our home team. And I cannot wait for you guys to get to know him and see all the ways he gives back. So please do me a favor and help welcome Shannon up to the living room. Is it on?
No. Hello. They say that you can't see. I can see all you guys. It's not that bright.
That's not true. We also have your hat on.
Okay,
I feel it's pretty bright up here. I'm so glad you're here. I do want to get into your story. I find your story fascinating. I don't hear a lot about this particular, your background, so I kind of want to jump into it if that's all right. You have a little bit of a unique background. You were born in Virginia to very young parents. I think you said your dad was 14 when you were born, and that you were, for most of that time of your younger life, you were raised by your grandparents, your paternal grandparents. I don't want to talk too much about, we'll get into the religious side a little bit later, but tell us a little bit of the origin story of what that was like growing up with such young parents. And then I want to jump into, I don't usually say that people's addiction story is, the interesting thing about them, but I actually like yours for a specific reason. But tell us a little bit first of what that looked like growing up.
All right, so my dad was 14 when I was born. My mom was 16. And my mom's parents were really religious and so they wanted her to have an abortion, right? And so that didn't happen. I wasn't welcome there, so I ended up with my 14-year-old dad and his parents who raised me. My grandfather was an alcoholic. He every day would come home with a whole case of beer, and I assume he drank that every day because the next day he would have another one. He stayed downstairs, we stayed upstairs, and I didn't understand why it was so important to my grandma that we didn't make a bunch of noise. And later, I realized that, he was abusive to her, and the eye patch that she was wearing, the cat didn't really scratch her eye. But of course, at the time, I didn't realize any of that. So I was growing up in this abusive, alcoholic household, but I had no idea. I just thought that, that was life. So it seemed pretty normal to me.
And then eventually you started, and at the time you had said that it was just regular, like quote unquote regular drug use. If you were just like smoking pot and drinking, like a typical, you said, teenager. But the part of your story that got interesting, but this happened to both you and your father at different times,
Yep.
you had an injury while playing football. I think you said it was your senior year of high school.
Yep.
Tell us about what happened and how your addiction actually started to take form.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, I just want to back up just a little bit. Like, with my grandfather, you know, he always had, like, people over on the weekends to watch football and stuff, and they'd be downstairs drinking, and they would pay me quarters to go get them more beers, right? Like, every time they run out of beer, I'd get a quarter to go get another one. And I guess that got expensive because, like, they started giving me sips of beer instead of quarters. And I was, you know, I was little. I was 6, 7 years old. And I just wanted to share that part because, like, the acceptance piece of that, right? Like, there was no, it wasn't, a quarter was just a quarter, but, like, when they gave me that beer, they were giving me acceptance, right? Like, and I was drinking that, and I didn't realize that what I was drinking was, like, an example, the only example that they had. But, okay, so when I got hurt playing football, they gave me Percocet, and I'd never had that up until that point. And so I realized that I really liked Percocet. And, like, I had, like, a couple left. The neighborhood I lived in was kind of sketchy at the time. And, like, I was 17, 18 years old. And so I remember the day that I took my last couple Percocet, and I went outside, and I was walking around the neighborhood, and I ran into this guy that I knew. And he's like, "Hey, man, you want any of these? You want to try these?" And he pulled out those same pills that I had just ran out of. And, like, I don't know, like, I didn't even realize that you could buy that stuff on the street. And so I was like, well, hell yeah, I want some of that, you know? And so that's when that progressed. I don't remember the second part of the
part of
question.
what we talked about was growing up in Virginia, and I don't know if you guys, we had mentioned when we were talking, that movie Dope Sick. I don't know if you guys have seen that, like, where it's just this entire, I mean, the state really, but I mean other places as well, but it just got overrun with this.
Yeah, it was, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that show with Michael Keaton, but, like, that's very true. Very real. The whole, like, so once that happened and I realized that, like, that was going on, because up until that point it was just weed and drinking on the weekends basically, I realized that, like, everyone I knew was on that shit. And like, everyone. And it was crazy, man, because the whole state was, like, just flooded with that, with the Oxycontin, Percocet, you know, all the opiates. And we all had, like, doctors that we were going to see. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I had this one doctor, like, a pain management doctor that I went to every month. And that was, like, he was like my ace in the hole, right? And I remember going to him for my appointment, and I pulled up, and there was no one there. And there was police tape out front. And like, I still remember, you know, the feeling, like, my heart dropped, man, because like I said, like, he was my ace in the hole. And all the work that was, like, that I had to do to get the money, to get the people lined up and do all this and that, and I pull up and see police tape. But yeah, that.
And your dad also, you had said that you don't know if he really did or didn't have, like, rheumatoid arthritis, but he too got into this. And I want to skip a little bit ahead to the first time you surrendered and asked for help, because you had been stealing pills from your dad, and he caught you. And in essence, what did you say that day that was different?
So, yeah, I mean, my dad, you know, it was, as you can imagine, probably it was a little toxic, but he had a lock on his door because I had been stealing. On a regular basis, stole his medication. I worked for him at the time, and so he asked me to go and run an errand for him in his truck. And so I got in his truck, I'm driving, I look down in the door panel and see a bottle of pills, and I'm like, this dude's a sucker, right? Like, he left his pills in here. And so I don't know how many pills were in the bottle. It's probably 30. If there was 30, I took like 28 of them, and then did what I had to do, took his truck back. And the next day, he comes to me in the morning and he's like, I need those pills back. And they were gone. Like, he didn't understand that I could eat 20-some pills in a day, but I could eat 20-some pills in a day. And so they were gone, and I told him that. And like, he had confronted me before. I had stolen from him before, and it was never, I don't know, like it was never a big deal to me, I guess. But like this time, I could tell that there was something different. Like, he was really pissed this time. And, when all this was going on, I'm like 18, 19 years old. And so when he said, I need those pills back, and I told him they were gone, and from somewhere, not from me, but out of my mouth came the words, I need help. And like, once I said that, I was like, oh shit, like, I shouldn't have said that, right? And so that was the first time that I ever admitted that I need help. I don't know that I would really call that a surrender, but like, something came over me, and maybe that was the first step in surrender.
Well, because and again, we'll fast forward a little bit more, because in your story, that was the first time that you had actually sought help. And like many of us, it was not the lasting. That was, you said you were 18. That was not in 2024, right? But it was one of those times where it was like, but it planted the seed of what recovery looked like. And we're in the series of like the life that we wanted. And you did learn valuable tools in there. And you had a little bit of that insight of like, This is the life I want. I do want to fast forward a little bit more when you did, in fact, return to drug use, but you got yourself into a pretty difficult relationship where you then ended up having 2 children with this woman. And again, some of that chaos that you had known as a child then kind of happened with the family that you created with this woman and your 2 kids, which eventually left, again, I'm going to fast forward to the end of the story where it talked about where you actually were asked to leave, where you had to leave your kids with this woman, and you now had to leave. And tell us about, at that time you were, I think, 3 years sober when you were asked to leave at that point. So from that point in your story where you knew the life that you wanted, but now you're being asked to leave the life that you created, that you had always wanted to get out of because this woman was not where you wanted to stay. What did it look like that day? How did you start taking different actions to create the life you have today?
That's a big one. Yeah. So, when all that all that transpired, I had been in this relationship. So, real quick, I just want to say, like, if you're in recovery, I'm sure that you've heard, like, not to get involved with new people, and I remember the day that I walked into this NA meeting, and I had a year and some change clean, and there was this new girl sitting in the corner, and like, as soon as I saw her, it was like a spotlight from God was shining on her, and this music was playing, and I knew that God had sent her there for me. So I just want to preface with that, right?
So it didn't work out that way then?
No, not after like a week. Yeah, so her and I ended up married, and we had 2 beautiful kids, and a life of addiction and chaos. And we were clean at different times throughout that relationship, and using at different times, together, separate, all that. And when it all like came to a head, probably the 10th or 11th head, and I left. It was the hardest thing that I had ever done in my life, man, because I had to put myself ahead of my kids. And I selfishly had done that who knows how many times, right, for addiction, but to do that for a healthy reason was incredibly difficult. And so I just had to trust in God, man, that the same God that had protected me was gonna protect them, even though I wasn't there. And so I walked away, and that was all in Virginia, and I ended up here. And I just want to say, I have been to court to try to get custody of my kids 3 times, from the time that they were born up until that point, and I just gave up, because I lost every time. Because, well, I'm not gonna get into why, but I lost every time. And so I came out here, and I get a call one day from their grandfather, my ex's dad, and he's like, I got your kids. There was no food in the house, and they're basically living in a shooting gallery, and if you want them, you need to come get them. And I told you not to make me cry.
I can't guarantee that. I told you that.
So yeah, I don't know. They ended up here with me, and I just the point of that, man, is that I took my hands off of it, and I stopped trying so hard to manipulate the outcome, and then it all worked out how it should work out. I think.
And what I love so much is, again, you had that seed planted of what recovery looks like, and there had been times where you returned to use, and then you got sober, and today you lead a life that is of being of service. You know what it takes. I loved, we had this, when we had talked, you had said when you first moved here, and I'm sure many of you who have ever gotten sober in one city and then went to somewhere else had that same comparison game. Well, these folks in Colorado, they're not doing it right. Virginia is the one how that comparison game, we're always looking for the thing that excludes us from belonging or excludes this from working for us. That life that I want isn't going to work for me because they're not following the rules. And you also surrendered to that because you do still know what it looks like to be community. Even today, Brian walked in for the first time and you were willing to meet him, say hello, and be of service, because you learn that in recovery. So I know we're a little bit short on time, but I do want to, so somebody who is still out there, right, who thinks that my life is so difficult that if you knew my upbringing or if you knew the drama with my baby mama and all that stuff, right, all the things that exclude us from believing that we can have the life we want, what would you say to someone out there who is terrified, whether they're terrified to walk in this door, whether they're sitting in this building and they're new and they've never been here before and they're scared to talk to someone new? What would you leave us with tonight for somebody out there who doesn't know how to get to that life that they really want?
So I think, just kind of like the message was tonight, man, just try to jump through those waves. Into those waves. I had no idea the life that I thought that I wanted a couple years ago, even when I had gotten clean. I thought that I wanted the life that I had before when I was clean, and I've realized that that's not what recovery is going to look like for me now. And so if you have some kind of preconceived notion of what recovery looks like, just let that go, man, and put one foot in front of the other and see what is in store for you.
And I know you're going to stick around, but you're also here almost every single week, whether it's the 5 p.m. or the 7 greeting. I would highly encourage anyone who wants to lean in, be a volunteer. Be that first face. That this building is often so hard for people to walk into, and just to be that friendly face of just saying hi, I think it'll change you, but it also changes the life of that person walking in. And Shannon would be an excellent person to ask more questions. And Kimber, sorry, I'm going to call you out too, but Kimber is also sitting in the front row. And she too is part of the home team. And again, like volunteers and says hello. And I would encourage you guys, get to know Shannon, be a volunteer. And can you guys do me a favor and give Shannon a round of applause?
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Shannon. Man, I remember our first real conversation together a few months back. Do you remember it? This dude says to me, on Saturday night, he says, hey, I've never heard a preacher say some of the things you say. Can we meet? I was like, oh, no, this dude wants to beat me up. He's got more tattoos than me. He's going to beat me up. And we had a beautiful conversation about God, and Shannon was born and raised in religion. And, dude, I'm grateful for that conversation. I'm grateful you're here. Thanks for sharing with us tonight. All right, y'all, the way we close here on a Saturday night is with what we call heartaches. We start with celebrations, and kind of like celebrations, except like the opposite. We call these heartaches. The burdens that you're carrying, the things you might be carrying that you need some encouragement for, some prayer, some help, some just saying the words out loud, what you're carrying. That's what this time is for. We take 3 minutes for it. Again, if you're joining us online, drop your heartaches in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments. We'll join with you there. In-house, Catherine has a mic on this side. Rick has a mic on this side. You can just raise up your hand and speak the words into the mic. This time is yours.
Hi, I'm Rayanne. I'm an alcoholic and addict, and 8 years ago, coming up in 2 weeks, I did lose my husband in a wave. And this time of year was a very emotional time for me and it was in Southern California. I'm from Southern California. And I don't know what your message was there, but I felt a lot of things I do need to feel, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that you had such a pleasant experience. And for me, I grew up on the beach. It's always been my happy place, and it's like my happy place turned into my most dreaded place. And after that occurred, I started a business with my sons so that I could, help my boys and help them to take care of themselves. And it's going on 8 years now, but I'm at a place in my life that I know I have to leave it. And I'm afraid, because I feel like somehow, like I'm failing them, and that I failed Tony, my husband. So I don't know what it all means. I'll feel better in a couple weeks, I'm sure. And I would just like some prayer around that I'm guided for the next couple weeks to get through what I need to go through.
Thank you for sharing with us. I'm glad you're here. Prayers for you. Right here, Rick.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'd like to ask for prayers for everyone impacted by the earthquake in Colombia, where we have family. We're very grateful that our family is okay, but there are many people who aren't, and it's not. There's not a lot of awareness around that earthquake and its ramifications. and there's a lot of struggle to rebuild. So please, prayers for all of the communities in Colombia, especially the city of Armenia, where our family is.
Yes, thank you for that, Melissa. Lifting up the people of Colombia. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, thank you, Rick and Catherine. Tammy, you going to join me back up here for a moment? Thanks, brother.
I'll add on to that prayer because I checked in with my friend Pablo. He has a farm. His family has a farm, a coffee farm in Colombia. And him and his family are all good, but same thing, like people in the community were very impacted. The coffee communities were very impacted.
Yeah.
So prayers for all of them. They're going through a lot of rebuilding right now.
Yep. Lifting them up. All right, you want to take the first one? The only one?
The only one. Kaylin says on August, oh my gosh, you see my eyes, I can't read. Is that a 6 or an 8?
That's
Six?
a 6, honey. That's a 6. Uh-huh.
I need some glasses. I lost a friend of mine to this disease, having a hard time with it. I'm sorry, friend.
Yeah, lifting you up tonight, Kaylin. Glad you're joining us. All right, well, thank you for that, Tam. All right, y'all, if you've been impacted by the mission here, breaking the silence of addiction, if this is your place, your people, your whatever you call us, your community, your home, whatever we are to you, if you've been impacted here, we do like to remind you that we rely upon your generosity. We are funded by you, the people. So for those of you that have made giving a part of your life, part of free, we're really grateful for it. And if you don't give here, please do give somewhere because it changes you. But if you want to give here, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can download the app, Free Recovery Community. All of our content's on that app. There's a giving button. You can hit giving, give that way. You can do the same thing on the website, freerecoverycommunity.com. Or there are the giving boxes just outside both sets of doors for in-house people. And then right outside these doors on your right is the Kind kiosk, and it's the one-tap system. If you'd like to give that way, it's a fun, easy way to give. And thank you for being a part of it. It really means a great deal to us here, so thank you. Shall we go out with a prayer? All right, I would encourage y'all to open up the hands. Just a simple sign of openness, welcoming in life, spirit, God, universe. Yeah, just take a big, deep breath. And if you don't know the St. Francis prayer, well, it's on your screen. It goes like this. We'll pray it together. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Grace and peace to you all, and we'll see you next time.